Hey, fourth grade. Kind of missed my underline there. We're going to keep talking about formulas today. And would you know it, area has a formula too. So let's figure out what that is, where that comes from, and how to use it today. Go ahead and make this your title, and then close your notebook up. Give me your total concentration and follow with me. All right, so we've been talking about this parking spot for my car. As you'll recall, it's been 9 feet and 5 feet, and I won't get into how we knew, but the other day we found a formula for the perimeter of the car. Remember, we said we could either do the perimeter was either the length plus the width plus the length plus the width, which was like saying the length plus the width plus the length plus the width. Or we could do perimeter was the length times 2 plus the width times 2, which is true. Just do this times 2 and then this times 2 and add those up too. So when we talked about the area for the car, a while ago we said, okay, well, if it's 9 feet and this and 5 feet, the tiling strategy is we actually partition this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2, 3, 4, 5 feet. And we tiled it across, and we counted up the tiles. And said, okay, it's that many square feet. I'm going to make 1 foot by 1 foot squares. That's called a square foot, and count them up. So I tiled these feet in. And I counted them up, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 18, and so on. And I think when we were all done, this was the 45th one, and we said it was 45 square feet. So if we look at this, we can kind of save ourselves some time and all that tiling and all that counting here too. Because you'll notice that when we do this tiling, if we make 9 feet this way and 5 feet this way, what we've really done is make an old school 3rd grade array. This is a perfect array that shows how to multiply 9 by 5. So this is an array that shows how to multiply 9 by 5 and go, isn't that nice? Look, at my length is 5 and my width is 5, or my length is 9 and my width is 5. So when I made the tiles for a 9 by 5 parking spot, I also ended up drawing an array for 9 times 5. So I could have just saved myself a lot of time and said, look, there's going to be 9 across and there's 5 rows of them. So area, you can calculate more quickly with the formula by just doing the length times the width. So without all that tiling, I'm going to end up making 9 rows of 5 or 5 rows of 9, however you want to think about it. And so this is a easy formula for the area. I could have saved myself all that tiling. Oh, I need that still. And instead of all that, instead of counting all those squares, my 9 by 5, sorry, I erased too much there. I could have just said, okay, well, the area is going to be the length times the width, which is going to be 9 times 5 anyway, and gotten that. So that is, you know, it's pretty easy to tile this, where you need the formula comes when things get bigger. So we're like saying, all right, well, what about a parking lot? This is a different number less. Let's say for 10 cars. I would need a lot more space. What's the area in here? How many square feet would be in there? So that I would really not like to partition this into 25 and this into 75 and then draw all those squares and then count all those squares up. It's too much effort. But what I know is going to happen is I'm going to have 25 rows over here for my 25 feet, and I'm going to have 75 columns here, my 75 feet. So I'm really just going to make an array, if I were to do it, an array that is 25 times 75. That's what I'm going to end up doing anyways. So instead of tiling, I can just say, well, I know it's going to be an array, and I know the area is just going to be the length times the width. And instead of drawing all those in there, I can just multiply my length and my width, because that's what I would do anyway. I would just draw the array. So the area of this parking lot is going to be 75 rows, or 75 columns, times 25 rows, and that's how many square feet I'm going to draw. And I just have to find out how many that is. I'm going to have to do some multiplication work here. 25 times 75 and let's see, 7 times 2 is 14. 0, 0 from here. 7 times 5 is 35 and a 0. 5 times 2 is 10 plus another 0 and 25. So 1400 plus 350 plus 100 plus 25 is 5, 7, 8, 1. 1,875 square feet. And after you use that formula, you will sure be glad you didn't draw 1,875 squares in here and try to count them all up. So the formula can be very handy and just say, well, instead of drawing 75 by 25 squares, I know that's how many there will be, so I'll just imagine the array and use the formula. Much faster. Okay, open up your math notebook. Let's start with a simple one. So I want you to, I want to make sure you know where this formula comes from. So, you know, we did the tiling strategy the other day. And I'm going to, I want you to write the formula down for sure. The formula is area is length times width. But I don't want you to just try to remember that, or you're going to get confused. I want you to remember where it comes from. And so here's where that is. So if this was 3 feet on this garden, 1, 2, 3, and it was 10 feet this way, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Then, if I were to tile it across, you're going to see where the 10 times 3 comes from. This was our strategy last time, so I want you to look at this 2 ways. One, I want you to look at this. The tiling strategy, I would tile it and count these up. 0, 10, 20, 30, because they all have 10, and I would have 30 square feet. I would just count them up. But the other thing you can do is you can look at that and say, look, I made this into an array that shows 10 times 3. It's 10 this way, and it's 3 this way. And so I'm looking at a 10 times 3 array, and 10 is the length of the garden, and 3 is the width of the garden. So I just made a formula, the formula that goes with that. Since you're just going to make an array of 10 boxes by 3 boxes anyway, 10 square feet by 3 square feet anyway, just remember the formula and take the shortcut of just saying, okay, A is the length times the width, which is 30 square feet. Same thing. I got 30 there, I got 30 there. So the formula is just a way to do it without drawing all the tiles. And what's particularly important is what you have to do. Okay, 10 by 3 garden, no problem to tile. But, you know, we start getting into like a farm instead of a garden, and the measurements get bigger, and nobody wants to draw 62 decameters here and 19 decameters here and then count all those square feet. Nobody wants to do that. Too much effort. So if you did, if you tiled, you would make an array that was 62 this way times 19 this way. That's what you would end up making. You'd make an array for 62 times 19. 62 is the length. 19 is the width. So really all you have to remember is that instead of drawing that, you can just remember that the length times the width is what you would do if you tiled it anyways. That's where that formula comes from. So the area of this garden is going to be, or this farm is going to be 62 times 19. I would make 62 boxes and I would make 19 rows of that 62. And that's it. So all I have to do now is multiply those numbers. 62 plus 19. I like the area model. Is going to be 1 times 600, 20, 9 times 6 is 54, plus the 0, and 18. So it's going to be 600 plus 540 plus 20 plus 18 is 8, 7, 1,178 square what? Decameters. And aren't you glad you didn't draw 1,178 square decameters and then have to count 1,178 square decameters? So this is the formula for area. So you now have seen 3 different formulas. You've seen an area formula, and you've seen 2 different perimeter formulas. The formula for area is the length times the width. The formulas for perimeter were either the length plus the width plus the length plus the width, or the length times 2 plus the width times 2. They can be a little hard to keep straight. That's why I try to tell you, don't just memorize them, understand where they come from, and you won't mix them up, because sometimes you'll use the wrong one for the wrong situation. Okay, guys, that's the area formula. Once you understand the examples, including the ones with the larger numbers you've got to multiply, please review that if you need to. Then you're all set. See you to practice tomorrow.